color, any style. You come pick it out today. Again, deep discounts during truck season. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
RandyMarionStatesville.com.
All right, everyone. Hello. Man, I am out of my element today, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be an interesting show. Welcome to the Scoreboard. Where's my camera? There's my camera. I am in a different location. If you're watching on the WSIC app or on any of our streaming platforms, Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, the website, you might notice that I'm in a different location. Usually I am standing, number one, behind a board in Statesville. Well, today we are live on a Monday night from Cornelius, North Carolina. Yeah, Studio C, as it's dubbed here in the WSIC world. I'm not running my own board. I have Mr. Big Shot producer Bill over here. Is it still Bill the Buffer, or I don't even know what they call you anymore, Bill?
I'm just living my dream right now.
We're going to call him
Producing
Bill
your
Living
show?
the Dream.
Yes, exactly.
Bill
Luckiest
living the
man on
dream.
earth.
I love it. That's wonderful. Well, welcome to the Scoreboard. We're going to spend the next hour together talking about all of these sports going on from the weekend, number one, because there was a lot. Games in the NBA Finals. The NHL Stanley Cup Final began. We have college to talk about. Yes, the College World Series. We have a game later on tonight between a local school here. NC State, who has made a name for themselves in college athletics this year, seem to be progressing deep into every single playoff that there is. They'll be taking on Georgia later on tonight. This is a grudge match, rubber match, game 3, 7 o'clock. So a little bit after the Scoreboard tonight, you'll be able to take a look at those two 1 seeds going up against each other on ESPN. Also, the NASCAR Cup Series was in Sonoma this weekend. Yes, road course racing. I know everybody loves it to watch NASCAR race car turn right, because apparently a lot of people say they don't know how to. And if it was your first time watching a NASCAR race, in the first 40 laps or so, you might have thought that they didn't know what they were doing. I told you guys last week that Sonoma was going to be interesting. There was going to be a lot of different things happening. There were a lot of incidents on the racetrack. A record number of cautions in a stage for Sonoma since stage racing began. But in the end, it was one of the top drivers in the league, in the sport, Kyle Larson, getting the win at Sonoma, his third of the season. Man, imagine if he wasn't playoff eligible still. Would we be like yelling really loud to NASCAR to say, make Kyle Larson playoff eligible? Because I actually have something that I track quite often. It is a page on X that calculates the NASCAR points if we were running the Winston Cup points system. So I want to talk a little bit about that, where things would stand if we did have that system in place, because I think it's interesting to look and see what the possibilities of a point system is in the NASCAR Cup Series. I mean, the regular season, we know you win the regular season, you get bonus points to the playoffs, and then it's survive 3 rounds. But it used to be whoever had the most points at the end of the year is the champion, which is the way I think it could, that it should be. I think we have Matt Kenseth to thank for that, his 2004 championship. We're also going to get into the NHL Stanley Cup playoff, Stanley Cup final tonight, game number 2. Game 1 was on Saturday, and a little bit of a surprising result. A 3-0 victory for the Florida Panthers in a game where Edmonton, they dominated, to be honest. So we'll talk a little bit about that game number 2 coming up tonight. But I want to start the day with a little bit of a discussion on the NBA and the NBA Finals and what we are seeing. Man, I'll tell you this. Boston has gone into every single series as the significant better team. Maybe not in the betting lines, maybe not in the eyes of reporters who are going in and they have to be neutral, but looking at it from a step back. The Celtics have gone into every single series in this playoff as the favorite. They have. And they're showing why, because that's a team that when they can't get it done one way, they're getting it done another way. Game number 2 saw the Celtics shoot absolutely horrific from the three-point line. As a team, we got to go over the stats of this because it's crazy to think that they were able to come out with the win. As a team, the Celtics went 10 of 39 from three-point land, 25%, but they still made 10 of them. Yeah, you shot 39, but you made 10. Guess what? The Mavericks, yeah, they only made 6. The other thing you look at is the free throws. What did I say? What have I been saying? For the NBA playoffs, you make your free throws, you're going to win games. They are free throws. Free points. They're yours. You can have them. And the only excuse for not making a free throw is not practicing it enough because there's nobody guarding you. It's a repetition. Yeah, sure, maybe you'll miss it every now and then, but if you're not 80% from the line and you're in the NBA, come on. Just practice it more. Sure, yeah, you're the greatest post player in the league. You get fouled 10 times a game. Why aren't you making your free throws? The Boston Celtics shot 19 of 20 from the line, 95%. Dallas Mavericks, 16 of 24, 66% from the line. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that was the difference because it wasn't. There's a lot that went on. The defense for Boston was magnificent last night. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis with some timely blocks. And as a team, they didn't have many blocks, only 5. But when they needed it, they got one. Derek White had a wonderful defensive game, and he hit down a few clutch threes. He was their best three-point shooter in the day, 4 of 10 from behind the line. Not who you would expect to be their best shooter, but Derek White is getting it done. And when you get to this part of the year, when you get down to the championship series, you need your role players to step up. Yes, you do absolutely need those superstars to perform because that's what's been carrying your team. But every now and then you're going to have an off day. Jaylen Brown, 1 for 5 from 3. Jason Tatum, 1 for 7 from 3. Drew Holiday shot 2 of 4 from 3. But you have Kristaps Porzingis, 0 for 3 from the three-point line. So you need those role players to come through, and that's what Derek White is. He's not a superstar. Yeah, he's a starter on this team. Yeah, he's a really good player, but he isn't the star. He's not who this team runs through. But because he had a very clutch game, Boston came out with the win. It very well could have gone the other way. And in the first quarter, when the Celtics were ice cold to start the game, it looked like it might be the time for Dallas to pounce and say, okay, let's grab a game on the road, take away home field or home court advantage, and go from there. Well, the first quarter ended, and so did the Mavericks' luck. 105-98. The Celtics take a 2-0 series lead. Game number 3, Wednesday at 8:30. We'll do a little bit of previewing of that game tomorrow. When we return here on the scoreboard, we're going to get into the NASCAR Cup Series race at Sonoma. I have some thoughts about it I'd like to share with you, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back right here on the scoreboard. We're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, it's the low humidity that really makes all the difference. Under a clear sky and low humidity tonight, temperatures will fall into the low 60s overnight. Some spots around the farms may even see upper 50s by early Tuesday morning. Sunny, less humid, and comfortable as high temperatures climb into the low 80s for Tuesday afternoon. But enjoy it while it's here. Blazing hot and humid by the end of the weekend. Not much rain to talk about this week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their Thursday concert series in Mooresville. Fleetwood Mac tribute band The Chain takes the stage at 7 p.m. on June 13th. Grab a lawn chair and your friends and join us at Langtree in Mooresville on Thursday. The Second Friday Street Festival returns to Cornelius. Old Town's monthly series features an action-packed lineup of festivities including live entertainment, food trucks, craft breweries, local artisans, kids' activities, street art, and more. The Second Friday Street Festival begins at 5 p.m. in Cornelius at the Oak Street Mill. Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville rocks the lot this Sunday Fun Day. Their monthly concert series event kicks off at 5 p.m. with music from Inspire beginning at 6. The band's R&B, jazz, funk, pop, and old school style will get you up and dancing. The Inspire concert begins at 6 p.m. on the stage powered by Waves Entertainment. We'll see you Sunday at Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville. The Kane Center for the Arts Week 2 of summer camps begins Monday, June 17th. Morning and afternoon camps for ages 7 to 17 include ceramics, glee club, art, paper mache, clay, paint, and rock band. The 2024 fall performance season will be announced June 13th. For more information on summer camp programs, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 10-race series night number 3 is on Tuesday, June 18th. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. And a happy Father's Day this Sunday from everyone here at WSIC. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Parents can find a quality classical Christian education at Headwaters Academy. For more information, the phone number is 704-876-1520.
Who is this? This is 105.9 100.7.
WSIC. Local starts here.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And welcome back to the Scoreboard. This is the NPR version of the Scoreboard as I am sitting down, normally standing up, but today I have to be they're trying to slow me down because apparently standing up is just too much to handle. I get too animated. So I'm going to slow it down today. No, I'm not, but I am sitting down and it kind of stinks, but here we are on the Scoreboard. We've been talking about the NBA Finals. We're going to stick with the NBA before we go to NASCAR. I know I said we were going to come back with NASCAR, but hang tight with me because there is some news that I want to get to before we move on from the NBA topic. And it has to do with Dan Hurley, the head coach for UConn Huskies, back-to-back national champions. Well, as we head into the weekend, there was a report that the Lakers had made an offer to Dan Hurley to be the head coach. 6 years, $70 million. Well, earlier today, Dan Hurley decided to reject the Lakers' offer. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Dan Hurley rejected the Lakers. He decided to stay at UConn. Now, I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised. Dan Hurley has a chance to go back to back to back. He also has a chance to become the head of college basketball. We don't have a head of college basketball right now. It was Coach K. Coach K is retired. We've been it's not going to be Rick Pitino. It's not going to be anybody like that. It very well could be Dan Hurley. So he decides to stay at UConn. Now, last year, he signed a 6-year, $32.1 million deal with UConn. So the pay was significantly more to come to the NBA. But I think the idea of being a possible three-peat champion of the NCAA tournament, it was too much to resist. Eventually, Dan Hurley's going to be an NBA coach. That is what I believe. Eventually, we're going to get to a spot where Dan Hurley is an NBA coach, and I think he's going to be a very good one. He has very good coaching qualities, and we see it every year now, the last 2 years. UConn, they're great. They weren't really supposed to be great 2 years ago. Last year, they were the 1 seed, and they proved why they were the 1 seed. They won it all again. And they're going to come back again next year with another completely different team, and they have a chance to go for a three-peat. So that's, in my opinion, why Dan Hurley decided to stay. I do think he's going to leave just because it seems exhausting to be a head coach of any collegiate program right now with NIL and the transfer portal. Man, UConn's team was basically 2 different teams from last year and the year before. And now we're going to have a 3rd iteration of this team. It's got to be exhausting. So I think eventually we're going to see Dan Hurley in the NBA, but now is just not the time. Moving on to the world of NASCAR. We were in wine country on Sunday. Yes, Sonoma. There were races in the ARCA Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series. We're going to talk mostly about the Cup Series, although there is some good storylines from Xfinity, which usually, in my opinion, has the better racing, but it was some good racing in the Cup Series this week. Kyle Larson gets his 3rd victory of the season on the repaved Sonoma Raceway. He is now the points leader in the regular season after 16 races. Kyle Larson leads the points. Chase Elliott is 2nd, 14 behind him. Denny Hamlin sits 3rd. Tyler Reddick 4th. Martin Truex Jr. 5th. Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, and Ross Chastain are the 3 drivers in the top 10 in points that have yet to score a victory. And if you look at the overall points and where the cutoff line would be for the regular season, and if you're going to make the playoffs or not, Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric are still below 16th. Those 2 drivers would pop into the playoffs. Kyle Busch and Joey Logano would be the odd drivers out. So there was a lot to discuss with this Sonoma race, and it started early. Denny Hamlin, the 11 car, blowing an engine. Not something that you see often. Then we had an incident with Ty Gibbs. I have a problem with this incident with Ty Gibbs. I do. Now, you might be thinking, why? What happened? He blew a tire and went into the wall and couldn't turn the car. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But it used to be, for all those years, for how so long it was, a tire barrier would indicate where the corner was. And it wasn't a hard wall. And drivers would routinely bump into that thing and use it as, I don't know, more of a way to get as tight of a corner as you can, I guess. I don't know if this was NASCAR's decision, because a lot of different types of racing are done at Sonoma. I mean, you see it. They even got the drag strip there. But I do miss the days of the tire barrier there, because what happens is, for Ty Gibbs, you go into turn 11, you make that hairpin, the right front tire just clipped the wall. I mean, just clipped the wall, and it was an unforgiving wall. Ripped the tire right off. Flat tire, broken axle, whatever they call it now. Damaged vehicle policy, they can't get it fixed. Ty Gibbs has to retire from the race. And it does stink. I wish that they would have the regular tire barrier there instead of a wall, but I don't think this is a NASCAR problem. I do think this is a Sonoma racetrack specific thing. The results from Sunday: Kyle Larson is your winner, like I said. Michael McDowell is the beneficiary of a Martin Truex Jr. unfortunate happenstance. Then we have Chris Buescher 3rd, Chase Elliott 4th, and Ross Chastain controversially running P5. The last two drivers on the lead lap, the last driver on the lead lap was Martin Truex Jr. He finished the race 27th. Kyle Busch had an issue. He was coming across the line slowly, but still was able to get 12th. He got turned. He got spun out by Ross Chastain on the white flag lap. Now, Fox missed it the way they always do, and they refused to show a replay the way they always do because the race is over and who cares. But I saw the onboard camera from Ross Chastain, and there's really no defending what happened. Ross Chastain got in there way too hot. He couldn't make the corner. He slides up into Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch loses a top 5 finish, ends up 12th. Not the worst day in the world, the top 12 finish, but he was running top 5. I would be upset. Also during this race, we broke a record for cautions in a stage at Sonoma. Yes, a record was broken because they couldn't figure it out. And we had a big one in the hairpin of turn 11. Josh Berry just, I don't know what he was doing, what kind of block he was trying to make, what kind of dive bomb he was trying to make, but a lot of good cars were involved in that accident. The 22 car, Joey Logano, he had a great car to start the race, but he got caught up in a wreck with Austin Cindric, and Logano was in it. Michael McDowell was even turned around in that wreck, so for him to come back to finish second, like, round of applause to that team. But this race was a mess. It was chaos early in the race. And I do wish we would go back some of the road courses. Maybe not all of them, and I can understand that there's some of them where it might not work. But I think we need to go back to some of these road courses not having a caution at the stage break. Yes, there was still some really good strategy that was played this weekend. And yes, strategy in the end was the reason that Kyle Larson won the race. But I just think it used to be a lot better and a lot more interesting when there were more options at a road course. Now, that's not to say that they should do this for a short track or next time do they go to Coca-Cola 600. Although I think that is one that probably should not have stages. Maybe, and on the spot here, I'm kind of starting to think of an idea where NASCAR should really look at it track by track. What track should we have stages and what track should we not have stages? Maybe this is just the worst idea in the world, and it is very possible. I do have a lot of bad ideas. But something like Sonoma, the Coke 600, Phoenix, the championship race, maybe we get rid of the stages, let strategy loom large. There's going to be cautions. But I guess if we get rid of the stage break, NASCAR would overcompensate and we would get our phantom debris cautions again. I don't think anybody wants phantom debris yellows again. Kyle Larson gets the win. He is the leader of the regular season points, at least in NASCAR's eyes. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about NASCAR because I have one point that I want to make about the season as a whole. Do you like the points the way they are? What if they were a little different? So we'll go over that. Also, stay tuned because we're going to talk about some college baseball. Caitlin Clark is in the news with the Olympic team, the Olympic women's team being picked. Plenty more to go over. And NHL game number 2 of the Stanley Cup final coming up tonight. You're listening to the Scoreboard. Stay right here. We got a lot to talk about. We'll be back right after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, it's the low humidity that really makes all the difference. Under a clear sky and low humidity tonight, temperatures will fall into the low 60s overnight. Some spots around the farms may even see upper 50s by early Tuesday morning. Sunny, less humid, and comfortable. High temperatures climb into the low 80s for Tuesday afternoon. But enjoy it while it's here. Blazing hot and humid by the end of the weekend. not much rain to talk about this week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
More than a century ago, Bunch Johnson Funeral Home was founded on compassion. Let us assist you with pre-planning for funerals and cremations. Our family is here when you need us. Bunch Johnson Funeral Home.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-869-8560. 800-869-8560. 800-869-8560. That's 800-869-8560.
Attention, fellow conservative investors. What does the name Reagan mean to you? It stands for being the ultimate conservative. It also stands for the Reagan Gold Group. Do you see storm clouds approaching? The stock market hates uncertainty, and there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. High inflation, unstable debt, and economic uncertainty are just a few. You have car insurance, homeowners insurance, and life insurance. But do you have insurance for your retirement savings and your 401k? We urge all fellow conservative investors to learn about the one asset that could help ensure your nest egg doesn't crack under economic pressure. G-O-L-D, gold. Call the one name any conservative investor needs to know about. Reagan Gold Group.
800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. That's 800-296.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. In sports, one bad injury to a player can completely derail a team's plans. But if they have an appropriate response, they can still keep winning. When we experience hardships in our own lives, what is our response? Do we complain and question God? Or do we have an appropriate response by trusting that the Lord will help us keep winning? We acknowledge God is good when things go well. But the true test of faith comes when an injury or difficulty hits and our plans change. Proverbs 3:5-6 encourages us, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. Today, we know injuries may change our plans, but let's trust that God's will is best, and we can depend on Him to help us keep going. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to thesportsdevotional.com.
Parents can find a quality classical Christian education at Headwaters Academy. For more information, the phone number is 704-876-1520.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Apple Intelligence is getting a sour reception from Wall Street. Investors have been waiting to hear what Apple's artificial intelligence plans will mean for its devices. And at its Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple unveiled its tie-up with OpenAI's ChatGPT for some new AI functions. Apple says it means its software will pull information from across its apps, scan personal information to help you proofread texts, gauge traffic patterns ahead of a bad commute. But investors apparently thought there might be more, and shares fell 2%. That, however, did not keep the NASDAQ and S&P from posting new closing highs, all three averages gaining 0.2%. The Dow up 69, the NASDAQ 59, the S&P 14. An activist investor known for pushing management changes and even sales now has its sights set on Southwest Airlines. Elliott Investment Management wants a shakeup at the board and a new CEO. Southwest says it has confidence in its management. Joan Doniger, Bloomberg Radio.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this much. If you thought I was out of my element before, If you thought things were weird before, things are crazy now. I have a man standing behind me with his arms up like Rocky. That's Mr. Bill right there. Bye, Bill. Bill's teaching me everything about the studio here. Studio C in Cornelius. While I'm usually the one manning Studio A up in Statesville. But for today and for a few Mondays, I might be hanging out here with you guys. So I am sitting in producer Bill's chair right now. I am going to adjust it as much as I can. That way when they come in here Monday for Good Morning LKN, Bill is thrown for a loop, problems all over the place. Nobody else, he's still here. Wait a second. Never mind. I'm going to make sure not to touch anything. You're listening to the Scoreboard. 844-STUDIO-4 is the phone number. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take a phone call. But if you want to chat with me, we can try. Let's fail together, right? We were talking a little NASCAR on the other side of the break. Kyle Larson, your winner at the Sonoma racetrack. I like to monitor this Twitter account, X account. It's a NASCAR page that tracks this season's points and allocates the points based on the Winston Cup format. Now, obviously, there's only so much you can take this with. You know, the races would be a lot different if we were doing a different point format, and I get it. But let's say the stages were still there. Let's say everything was still the same way it was. Only difference being the way the points are handed out at the end being in the Winston Cup format. Well, if that were the case right now, and I get it, this isn't the case. But if it were, Chase Elliott would be your point leader right now. Yes, you heard me correctly, Chase Elliott. He's second in points right now. Having a great year. Only one win, but he's been very consistent. Denny Hamlin second, Tyler Reddick third, William Byron fourth, Martin Truex Jr. fifth. In case you're curious, Kyle Larson 179 points behind in seventh. Now, if you remember the old Winston Cup format, you would get a maximum amount of points of 185. So assuming Kyle Larson led the most laps and won at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, which obviously he didn't, he might be in the points lead. But this is just to show that, yeah, the points this year and the point system is kind of weird with playoff points being handed out, stage points being handed out. But the top five remain relatively similar. You know, take out that Kyle Larson being first. It is a little weird to see him first with a race being missed. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick are your top three. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick would be your top three. So it's not the worst points format in the world, but I can understand why people have a problem with it. All I'm saying is Kyle Larson should have been granted a waiver this year. Absolutely. Been the best driver all year, besides maybe Denny Hamlin at times being better. But that's the way I see it. The points, it's not the worst thing in the world right now. Maybe the way the playoffs are and the way we determine a champion could change. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But the way I see it, the point system, it's okay. And maybe the Kyle Larson thing goes to the wayside. We don't have to worry about it all that much. Next weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Iowa for the first time in a Cup car. The ARCA Menard, the NASCAR Xfinity, and the NASCAR Cup Series will all be in action. Sunday, June 16th at 7 p.m. It will be the Iowa Corn 350, powered by ethanol. You can catch that race here on WSIC. Coverage beginning at 6 p.m. Also, just so you know, the race will be the first one of the year broadcast by the NBC Sports crew. So Fox, thankfully, is done for the year. Oh my goodness. There were times where Fox was showing a static shot of the cars coming through the S's while there was a pass for the lead happening. I am so happy that we don't have to worry about Fox anymore and the way that they put on a NASCAR Cup Series race. It could be a lot better. Starting on Friday, we have all of the series in action. Practice qualifying for ARCA and a couple of practice sessions for the NASCAR guys before the ARCA race is at 8 o'clock Friday night, the Atlas 150. Saturday, qualifying for Xfinity is at 12. Qualifying for Cup is at 1. And the Xfinity race at 3:30. Cup Series at 7 p.m. on Sunday. Moving on from the NASCAR talk, I want to get into this Caitlin Clark story. And it was reported Caitlin Clark was not selected for the women's basketball Olympic team coming up this summer. A lot of people apparently had a problem with this. I, on the other hand, don't have a problem with this. Yes, Caitlin Clark is the most popular player. I get it. Yes. But is she one of the 12 best players in the WNBA right now? Probably not. She has a ton of turnovers, and I mean a ton of turnovers this year. Starting to figure it out, starting to gain her stride, but I wouldn't put her as one of the 12 best. And I get it. The argument is, man, why wouldn't you just send her to Paris anyway, just for the exposure? And I get it. I have been a vocal person here on just get the WNBA out there, put your eyes on it, put Caitlin Clark out there, put Angel Reese out there, whoever you have to put out there, just put them out there for everybody to see. Well, you're not doing that now with Caitlin Clark. She said, and here's the quote, "I know the most competitive team in the world, and I know it could have gone either way. Me being on the team or not being on the team, I'm going to be rooting for them to win gold. I was a kid that grew up watching the Olympics, so it'll be fun to watch them. Honestly, no disappointment. It just gives me something to work for." Why are people so up in arms about this? There very well could be an injury, and we could see Caitlin Clark in the Olympics anyway. She is the first reserve for the squad, but I don't have a problem with this. I have absolutely no problem with Caitlin Clark being left off the roster. She's a rookie. This is a professional tournament. This is the Olympics. This isn't college basketball. This is the Olympics now. I am completely okay with her being left off the team. And maybe it doesn't matter. Like I said, maybe there's an injury a week from now and Caitlin Clark has to be on the team. Fine. Then she can be on the team. But I wouldn't have been boasting if she was on the team originally. I don't think it matters that much. So Caitlin Clark, not part of the Olympic team. She is the first reserve, so if something happens, she'll make it. But, man, I don't understand the uproar. One more segment to go here on the scoreboard on this beautiful, fabulous Monday. When we return, we're going to get into the world of hockey as the NHL Stanley Cup Final continues later on tonight. Game number 2 between the Oilers and the Panthers. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Scoreboard. We will be back right after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, it's the low humidity that really makes all the difference. Under a clear sky and low humidity tonight, temperatures will fall into the low 60s overnight. Some spots around the farms may even see upper 50s by early Tuesday morning. Sunny, less humid, and comfortable. High temperatures climb into the low 80s for Tuesday afternoon. But enjoy it while it's here. blazing hot and humid by the end of the week, and not much rain to talk about this week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their Thursday concert series in Mooresville. Fleetwood Mac tribute band The Chain takes the stage at 7 p.m. on June 13th. Grab a lawn chair and your friends and join us at Langtree in Mooresville on Thursday. The Second Friday Street Festival returns to Cornelius. Old Town's monthly series features an action-packed lineup of festivities including live entertainment, food trucks, craft breweries, local artisans, kids' activities, street art, and more. The Second Friday Street Festival begins at 5 p.m. in Cornelius at the Oak Street Mill. Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville rocks the lot this Sunday Fun Day. Their monthly concert series event kicks off at 5 p.m. with music from Inspire beginning at 6. The band's R&B, jazz, funk, pop, and old school style will get you up and dancing. The Inspire concert begins at 6 p.m. on the stage powered by Waves Entertainment. We'll see you Sunday at Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville. The Kane Center for the Arts Week 2 of summer camps begins Monday, June 17th. Morning and afternoon camps for ages 7 to 17 include ceramics, glee club, art, paper mache, clay, paint, and rock band. The 2024 fall performance season will be announced June 13th. For more information on summer camp programs, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is back at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 10-race series night number 3 is on Tuesday, June 18th. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. And a happy Father's Day this Sunday from everyone here at WSIC. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Make your work easier with Eagle Rentals of Troutman and Statesville. Eagle Rentals has generators, heaters, fans, painting equipment, floor care equipment, pressure washers, lighting equipment, and lawn care equipment. Plus, Eagle Rentals has construction equipment like forklifts, bobcat loaders, backhoes, excavators, and more. Reserve online at eaglerentals.com. That's
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Man, I'm hearing things that I haven't heard before at this studio. It is a nice intro music with it's a little different. It's got that little diddle-diddle-doo on it. I've never heard that version before. I like it. Hello everyone, welcome. It is the final segment here on the Scoreboard on this Monday. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. Maybe I can find a way to get you on the air if you call in. Maybe not. I'll probably break something. I don't want to mess with Bill's spot here. If you're just tuning in for the first time today, this is Joe, host of the Scoreboard. That's me. Usually I'm up in Statesville broadcasting from Radio Road, but today I'm kind of mobile and I'm here in the Cornelius studios. And I don't know whose idea this was, but they left me in here all alone. I hope Good Morning LKN goes well tomorrow. And that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, we'll get back to the sports now. A little bit of a recap for you on the day. Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers. He's going to stick at UConn and be the head coach there. Mike Tomlin was given an extension as the Steelers head coach. Also, Caitlin Clark was not selected for the Olympic team in women's basketball. The Boston Celtics take down the Dallas Mavericks in game number 2 of the NBA Finals last night. Saturday night, the Florida Panthers with a 3-0 shutout win against the Edmonton Oilers. And that's where we are going to continue our conversation. The NHL in the Stanley Cup Final, game number 2 later on tonight. 8 o'clock is around when that one starts. In game number 1, I'll tell you what, Edmonton was the better team for a lot, and I mean a lot of this game. Carter Verhaeghe broke the ice with a goal to give Florida the 1-0 lead. Evan Rodriguez in the second scored, and then an empty netter. Luosterainen gets it to 3-0. Now, Florida was able to score early, just about 4 minutes into the game, and they also scored early in the second period as well. But through many stretches of that game, the Edmonton Oilers were the better team. And maybe they just were snake bitten today, or Saturday, I should say. 32 shots on net, 0 for 3 on the power play. That's a power play that was operating almost 40% in the playoffs. They got out hit by over 20. They gave the puck away more. Less takeaways. They ended up losing game number 1. The difference maker in the game was Sergei Bobrovsky, the goaltender for the Florida Panthers, as he stopped all 32 shots he faced. This is the second series in a row for Sergei Bobrovsky where he has pitched a shutout in game number 1 of the series, as he shut out the New York Rangers 3-0 in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I would look for Edmonton to bounce back in this game. I doubt they get left off the scoreboard 2 games in a row. I also doubt that the penalty or the power play is going to go 0 for 3 again. They had 3 opportunities yesterday, or Saturday, I should say. 3 opportunities Saturday. They did not cash in on any of them. That power play is too good for me to sit here and tell you that they're not going to get to break through in at least game 2. They got to get 1. I also wouldn't expect for Florida to play as bad as they did. Now, you might be a little confused. Wait a second. Florida won the game. Yes, but remember, Edmonton was the better team for a lot of that game. Florida did not look like themselves. They didn't. They looked just a step slow at times. They looked like they were scrambling in the zone every now and then. And they couldn't get any sustained pressure. Now, they did score twice to win the game. So, yeah, I get it. They're up 1-0 in the series, but they weren't the better team. This does happen in hockey, and it happens quite often where the better team doesn't win. Look at the Eastern Conference Finals, the entire game, the entire series. The fact that the New York Rangers won 2 of those games, was miraculous nonetheless. But game number 2 is tonight, so we'll see what happens. I think Edmonton is going to bounce back in this series, and I do think they'll bounce back today. Like I said last week, I got Edmonton in 6. It's a little bit harder to see that happening now, but 2 wins, then you lose 1. 2 wins, and you win the Stanley Cup. 4 games to 2, 6 games. It's not out of the realm of possibility at all, so don't count it out. Game number 2 tonight, 8 o'clock. This is a story that broke a little bit later on in the day, so I'm not going to have all that much time to go over it, but I'll give you the headline here. 1983 NC State title team members sue the NCAA over NIL compensation. 10 players from NC State's 1983 National Championship basketball team have sued the NCAA and the Collegiate Licensing Company, seeking compensation for unauthorized use of their name, image, and likeness. The players filed suit in Wake County Superior Court on Monday, requesting a jury trial and reasonable compensation. For more than 40 years, the NCAA and its co-conspirators have systemically and intentionally misappropriated the Cardiac Pac's publicity rights, including their names, image, and likeness associated with that game and that play, reaping scores of millions of dollars from the Cardiac Pac legendary victory, as it states in the lawsuit. I'm not surprised about this, but why? This is opening up a lot. Now, I would think that this has to do with documentaries and movies that are made and anything that the NCAA shows about this team. But this would open the door for any old team that has any kind of E60, 30 for 30, between the lines, all those ESPN documentaries that they shoot. I feel like it opens the door for all of those to start seeking compensation for something forever ago. And this is the floodgate that the NCAA opened when they began name, image, and likeness. It's the Wild West out here. There is absolutely no rules. So we have no idea if this precedent is set and 2 years from now, I don't know, the Fab Five. That's name, image, and likeness that was used for years and years and years. I just don't like the precedents that this would set, man. It's going to be a slippery slope. I do think that the NCAA is going to want to get rid of this, but I also don't think they could just give money away. I would love to have had time to talk about College World Series. Game number 3 between NC State and Georgia will be taking place in just over an hour from now. I also wanted to talk about Formula One from this weekend. They were up in Canada on this side of the world, so it was a lot easier to watch that race. But we'll save that conversation for tomorrow. We can also talk some IndyCar. It was like crash heaven for anybody that likes bad racing this weekend. Not that it was bad racing, but man, there were some incidents all weekend long in motorsport. We're going to end the show the same way we always do, this day in sports history. Now, there's always a lot to choose from, and I personally have a hard time seeing what should and what shouldn't get talked about on this day in history. But every now and then there's something where I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably, shout that one out. Pete Rose tied Stan Mussel's NL record with 3,630 hits on this day in 1981. That's the MLB. Also on this day in sports history, Hank Aaron's Grand Slam number 14 ties him for the NL lead with Gil Hodges and moves him ahead of Willie Mays as the number 2 home run hitter, 649 career home runs. That was on this day, 1972. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into the Scoreboard on this beautiful Monday. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to be back up in Statesville, North Carolina, back at home base, be a little bit more comfortable there. So we'll do the show as normal tomorrow. Wednesday, you will hear from Patrick Reynolds as I will not be in town. Patrick Reynolds will be guest hosting the Scoreboard. Yes, the host of the Home Ad Show is going to take the microphone and talk sports. He's probably going to do a lot of motorsport talk, so prepare yourself. Thursday, we will have something planned for you. I will not be here. And then Friday, we will have some sort of wrap up of the week. I will not be here Friday as well. So tomorrow's the last day you're going to get me this week, but we'll have something for you continuing throughout the week. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Scoreboard today. Until tomorrow, have a great night, everyone.
Serving you better than